what the black man and woman needs to know about the nation, about the world, about themselves. Muhammad Speaks It. To order your 12-issue subscription to Muhammad Speaks newspaper, 313-371-7033. 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie is the grand champion of all bean pies. The rich flavor and smooth texture takes this pie to a whole new level of delicious. One bite and you'll understand why people all over the country call daily to order Kareem Bean Pie. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie.
This bean pie is delicious.
Muhammad Speaks presents Messenger Elijah Muhammad's Teachings by Minister Khalil Shabazz every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. at Muhammad's Temple of Islam, 12609 East McNichols Road in Detroit.
Brothers and sisters, we rise for prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Soul Master's dead gentlemen in which we now live. The alone do we serve, and the alone seek for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path. Path of those upon whom thou spell thy favors, not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down. Nor those who go astray after they heard thy teaching. Say he Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none deserve to be served, worship, or praise besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is thy true servant and last apostle. Ameen. We'd like to acknowledge the brothers and sisters that extended us the greetings of Assalamu Alaikum. We have Sister Hala Brooks from Phoenix. We have Brother Kareem Muhammad from Newark, New Jersey. And we have Brother Mustafa and Sister Sharice Ali from Ohio. I'd like to say in the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and in the name of his last and greatest messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'd like to greet the brothers and sisters with the nation of Islam's greeting words, peace of Assalamu Alaikum. Today we'd like to talk about a response to Israel united in Christ for their lies against Messenger Muhammad. Because the latest video, because by now I think it's safe to say that everybody can realize I'm a fan of the Israelites. So I go to their stuff every week, checking to see what they saying about the messenger and Islam and Master Farad Muhammad. So this week, they had a video because now they going even further than usual. Now they actually using pictures of the messenger. This picture is what they call a thumbnail. So they got Muhammad never taught any prophecy. And then they got a picture of the messenger. So when you go to the actual video, you see this brother right here. He the one who talking, but he talking to this brother. And this is the first thing that I want to point out about the because we're going to talk about some of the prophecies in the Holy Quran. Because one of the things that we must understand, the messenger said, we are the future rulers. So he said we must know the truth of it all. All of the hidden symbols and signs that was hidden from the black man for 6,000 years, he said we got to understand all of that because we the future rulers. So we must understand that there is just as much prophecy in the Holy Quran about the black man as it is in the Bible. Yes. Just as much. But let's talk about this video. So this brother right here is talking to this brother right here. This brother don't know what he's talking about. And that's the big difference between the messenger and what they call in this generation millennials. Because they say that social media has caused many of these millennials to be disillusioned to reality. They said that because social media creates this false reality for these what they call millennials, they say that they're not in tune with what's real. A lot of times when you see Bishop Nathan, if you was to say that Muhammad didn't teach prophecy, you supposed to be debating that or discussing that with a Muslim scholar. Right. That's who, because this brother right here don't know what he's talking about. But since we live in the new world of social media, most people just do stuff to go viral. You make a video that you can get so many views, and that's what they talk about makes reality. You think that because you got 1 million views, you doing something. Or you got a video that got so many likes, because in this generation, you can become famous overnight for doing absolutely nothing. Yes, sir. And this is what makes social media make these millennials have a false sense of reality. Because the messenger during his time, he was debating or challenging Muslim scholars. Because what the messenger did had never been done before. Never was there a time where anybody challenged the interpretation of the Quran by the Arabs. The Arabs said that Muhammad was the last messenger of Allah, and that's just what it was. The Arab says that Muhammad is a descendant of Ishmael, and that's just what it was. Nobody ever challenged the interpretation of the Holy Quran by the Arabs until the messenger. The messenger said, when he would give people or offer them $100,000 or $10,000 out of my brother's vest pocket, if you can prove one word that I say is other than the truth. But when he would say this, he said, I don't mean for you to bring up no common person. He said, I want you to bring a scholar. Now, I'm not arguing with a common person. So the messenger challenged, and this is one of the challenges that he made. He challenged Maulana Muhammad Ali. He challenged his interpretation of the Holy Quran. Because Maulana Muhammad Ali, the messenger said, is the best Holy Quran interpretation for us to use. But he taught us that Maulana Muhammad Ali was a little bit off. So the messenger, let's just give a rundown of the history before we deal with the prophecies in the Quran. So when the messenger was challenging these Orthodox Muslims, these Orthodox Muslims had no defense at all. Because they never was they was never made to prove what they were saying. So this is why when Malcolm X used to go and debate at the top universities in the white man's world, this is before social media. Because if it was not for social media, Bus Stop Bishop Nathaniel and these fakes have not done nothing significant that will make you notice them. Because what made Malcolm X so noticeable before social media, people used to wonder, how could this brother that's from prison, didn't graduate the 8th grade, but he can go to the top universities and debate scholars and professors. Right. And they said that Malcolm X, when he used to debate, he knew how to bait the professor in so where he could handcuff them in such a way that a lot of times the professors will walk out on him. That's how good and skilled at debate of the messenger's teachings that Malcolm X was. Because the messenger taught us as Muslims. He said he did not want us to go out on the street and argue with brothers and sisters that we selling the paper to. He told us to just offer it to them. He said, when you meet a black man on the street, he said, I want them to see a smiling face. Right. He said, don't argue with it. The messenger told us, if you see a black man on the street or if you walk up on his porch and he tell you, nigga, get off my porch. The messenger said, we supposed to say, okay, thank you, sir.
That's right.
To this man, and he just said, nigga, get off my porch. Because the messenger said all he wanted us to say was Muhammad speaks. Right. Because when you got the truth, you don't need a gimmick. When you got the truth, you want your opponent to be prepared. Praise you to Allah. You don't want to walk up on no brother on the side of the road at the bus stop who don't know what he talking about. You got Bibles, you got Qurans, you got other books, you got the microphone, you got totally advantage over him. Plus you know he don't know what he talking about. This is the whole gimmick of Bus Stop Bishop Nathaniel and the Bus Stop Bible battles. Yes, and that's why I call him Bus Stop Bishop. Because he's a bus stop bishop with a bus stop doctrine and a bus stop religion. Yes, the messenger forbid us as Muslims to argue with these brothers and sisters that don't know what they talking about. Right. The messenger, just like he said, bring me your scholars. Yes. So in 1960, because we couldn't bring all the history. And this is another thing about why we the believers hate the hypocrites. Yes. Like Louis Farrakhan. Because everything that bus stop Bishop Nathaniel say, originally the white man used to say. Because black people in 1960, 1961, they didn't even have a black studies department in their college. Right. They was not teaching the black man's history at all. So they wasn't really challenging the messenger on a scholarly level. But the white man was. So the messenger has, this is the March, April, 1961, Mr. Muhammad speaks. It says Muslims score at Southern universities. Then you have in the box, it says 1960, our greatest year in review. Then it says students at Queens, Yale, and Southern colleges hear Muslims. Because the messenger taught us that the temple is the place where we teach and train. Right. Because when we offering the black man the truth, we're not trying to argue with them. We're not trying to debate with them. All we trying to do is to tell them what somebody told us. Mm-hmm. Then we let them make up their own mind. Mm-hmm. It's up to you. I'm not about to argue with you about nothing, but the messenger did argue or debate. The place where you do that is with scholars. Right. So the messenger, in 1961, before the debate, Muslims, it says Muslims challenged Dr. Schlesinger. Who was Dr. Schlesinger? This was before social media, when you really had to know what you was talking about. So what happened with Dr. Schlesinger? Dr. Schlesinger was President John F. Kennedy's advisor. He was a Pulitzer Prize winning Harvard history professor. So Dr. Schlesinger was the best of the best. So Dr. Schlesinger, who was John F. Kennedy's top advisor, was sneak dissing the messenger. The Messenger different than this hypocrite Louis Farrakhan. When you go to the Muhammad, when you start with the Pittsburgh Carriers, the New York Amsterdam News, the Messenger responded to every single comment that came in about Islam. When the Messenger got to the Muhammad Speaks, he would write articles about what he heard over the radio. Messenger would be sitting down listening to the radio and somebody would say something about him, say something about Islam, say something about the Quran, say something that he felt like they trying to talk about me and what I teach. So he responded to it. So Dr. Schlesinger was sneak dissing the Messenger. So what the Messenger did, Malcolm X, Dr. Lonnie Shabazz, and the FOI went to where they knew Dr. Schlesinger was going to be at a debate, at a question and answer period. They didn't make it known. This is how FOI used to do with the message. They would just go where you was. Be sitting in the crowd. So Dr. Schlesinger at this college started sneak dissing the Messenger. So Malcolm X and Dr. Lonnie Shabazz got in line for the discussion period. Malcolm X, when he got to the microphone, he didn't say, "This is Malcolm X, the minister for Temple." No, he said, "This is a Muslim." He didn't even tell Schlesinger who he was. But he questioned Schlesinger on how he was sneak dissing the Messenger. So in the Pittsburgh Carrier, it says Harvard professor had called Muslims racist. Malcolm X rips JFK's advisors. This how black people began to notice the Muslims. Not because they was on the sidewalk, like bus stop Bishop Nathaniel Ray in this social media generation, arguing with people who don't know what they talking about. Malcolm X challenged the best of the best, the president's advisor. So after Malcolm X did that, the students at Howard University wanted him to come speak. We want to hear more about this Islam you talking about. So in the February 11th, 1961, Pittsburgh Carrier, it says, invited by campus NAACP, Malcolm X, Howard U, Negro history guest. This was when the black man was still calling himself Negro, nigga, and colored boy. This is before he had the knowledge of self. This was before black people even was arguing over who they were. Because now, today, in today's world, everybody talking about the black man is really this. And the black man is really that. We really from Kemet. We really Moors. We really Israelites. We really Muslims. But in the early 60s, when the Messenger was sending Muslims to college, nobody was arguing about what we was just Negroes. So when they started to hear Muslims challenge these professors, that's when the black college students began to invite Malcolm X to come to their school. So then in February 25th, 1961, it says Muslim Malcolm X out as Howard U history speaker. So the black students at the college wanted Malcolm to come. But the administration was getting money from the government. The administration saw how Malcolm X just handled JFK's advice. So even though the students wanted to know all about themselves, the administration say, no, that Malcolm X can't, he teach hate. This is what shows you what caused these riots in 1969 with these students. It was because of the Messenger. It wasn't because they saw the Messenger on the sidewalk arguing with people who not qualified. It's because they saw him, a black man with a 3rd grade education. taking all these ministers from prison. James Shabazz, brother from prison. He's one of the only ones I know by name that was from prison. Another heavyweight for the message. Yeah. You had Jeremiah going to debate. It was this other brother. His name was like Benjamin X. I can't bring all the history. But this brother was in some college down south. He was talking about, his subject was talking about some about the white race was headed for destruction. While he up there giving his lecture, the white student, because most of these colleges is more white people than black people. But if it's some black people there, you still gonna go and try to tell the teachings of the message. So those white students listening to this brother talk about the white race, they had to cut the debate short because the students had started tying nooses outside of the campus, bringing in Confederate. This was what the messenger had to go through. But let's go, because I don't want to waste too much time. When the messenger, I just want to make one more point before we get into these prophecies. Because these professors and all these white people and Arabs, they couldn't stop the messenger. The messenger was sending his ministers to these colleges and he was sending them to Princeton. He was sending them to Yale. He was sending them to Harvard. He was sending them to Oxford, Columbia, Michigan State, the top universities in this country.
That's right.
Pray due to Allah. The messenger forbid us to be he sent his top qualified ministers to the best universities this devil had. Yeah. So since they could not stop the message, one of the things they did is they came up with this Wallace died for thing. They said, well, really, the leader of the Nation of Islam or the Muslims is this convicted criminal named Wallace died for. So the message, being the message, he said, okay, since I like to prove stuff, we will pay for you. Wallace died for it, and anybody with y'all who want to come to Chicago and prove that Wallace died for it is the person that I teach. He said, not only will we pay for you to come, we will also give you $100,000 to prove that this is the person that I'm talking about. So because it was a lie from the start, they never even came or told the messenger, okay, we'll come to Chicago and prove that Wallace died for it is Master Farad Muhammad. Because the thing about the messenger, in 1963, $100,000 in today's money would be $969,924. So the messenger offered them almost $1 million in today's money. He said, I'll pay for you to come. Not only will I give you $1 million, I will pay for you to come. We can be on the national radio broadcast for you to prove that Wallace died for is the one that I teach. So they never came. This is an article that comes from the November 28th, 1932 Detroit Free Press. Because I had to make this point, because Bus Stop Bishop Nathaniel still used this today. He still used the same newspaper to try to say that Master Farad Muhammad is a white man on the sidewalk. So we want to go to, since we talking about university debates, because the thing about a debate that the messenger loved, you have to prove what you say in a debate. Not only do you have to prove it, there's rules. You have moderators, plus there's a judge. Everybody at the debate have an equal amount of time to discuss or prove their point. Everybody got time. Then after you have the debate, the professors and scholars in the crowd have an opportunity to debate you or to ask you a question based on what you was talking about. That's right. That's where it's even, Steve. Nobody has the upper hand. Both persons are qualified. Right. Both persons equally matched in what they talking about. Because I was listening to one of Malcolm X's debates. It was the question and answer period. Professors was getting up asking Malcolm, and I'm talking about, it was just so amazing how quick Malcolm used to be. I give Malcolm credit. He used to be, I'm talking about no sooner than they stopped talking, he already in the mic, getting back at them with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, and just crush. I'm talking about, it would be students that would get up asking him questions. It would be professors. One time, just come, Malcolm was talking about, it was a lawyer that took the messenger to court because he said that the messenger shouldn't be teaching black people that we was Muslims back in Africa. So Malcolm said that the messenger had to get a lawyer, had that lawyer get a book from the United Nations to bring this book to court that talked about black people being Muslims in Africa. This is all that the messenger had to do to teach us what he taught. Right. People was coming at the messenger from all angles. So in 1932, getting back to this, in 1932, in the Detroit Free Press, the article is called "Pastors Decry Growth of Cult Practices Here." Just to show you how they never said that Master Farad Muhammad was a white man. Because in Detroit, when Master Farad Muhammad came, he shook Detroit up. Yes. The police, all of the black pastors and leaders that was in Detroit had to denounce Master Farad Muhammad. Because Master Farad Muhammad was teaching that the white race is a race of devils. Master Farad Muhammad was teaching about Muslims. Why does a Muslim murder to death? This kind of stuff shook up Detroit. Because what happened in 1932? And we working our way up. We gonna get to the subject. Yes, I just want to prove a few points. Because what happened in Detroit that caused Master Farad Muhammad to be discovered? Master Farad Muhammad in 1932 had at least 8,000 registered Muslims in America, right here in Detroit. Yeah. When you read those old Detroit Free Press, some of those Free Press say 9,000. But in 2 years of Master Farad Muhammad being in Detroit, he had 8,000 registered Muslims. Not only did he have 8,000, he had like over 500 children in the University of Islam. So how they found out about Master Farad Muhammad? It was a brother who murdered his roommate. He killed. You can't control 8,000 people. You got to know somebody in that 8,000 gonna have some loose screws. It's just the reality of the history. So the white man, when they saw Master Farad Muhammad, they started taking the teachings that he was teaching the black man. They say, we got to get rid of him. So not only did they come up with a special task force of police, they had Master Farad Muhammad in Receiving Hospital that's still downtown on John R. You can read this history. So it was plenty of people who saw him. The police saw him, the hospital saw him, and the preachers. Now let's see what the preacher said about Master Farad Muhammad. It says race, not responsible. The preacher said, it says the Negro race cannot as such be held responsible for the actions and teachings of a fanatic. It says their Arabian leader is solely to blame. There must be quick and just punishment of those who come around among us and for personal gain lead us astray. There's a whole article, we don't have time. Go read what them preachers say. When they saw Master Farad Muhammad, everybody said this Arabian or this Arab. They never said nothing about a white man. Because the white man knew about Arabs, because they wasn't letting a whole lot of Arabs come to this country. They didn't start letting a whole lot of Arabs come to this country until 1965. So let's go on with these prophecies. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad challenged Maulana Muhammad Ali, because Maulana Muhammad Ali, in his translation of the Holy Quran, he said that Prophet Muhammad was the only prophet or the first prophet that Mecca had ever seen. Now you might think, what difference do that make? Because we deaf, dumb, and blind. On looking at that, what difference do that make if he say that or not? But the messenger, being the messenger of God, this is how the Arabs, not challenged, make people think that Prophet Muhammad is the last messenger of Allah. Because the messenger, in Maulana Muhammad Ali's translation of the Holy Quran, is chapter 32, verse 3. It says in the footnote, it says Mecca had not seen a prophet before the advent of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who was the only prophet raised among the descendants of Ishmael. So the messenger, in the January 31st, 1964, Muhammad speaks. It says, Messenger Muhammad, stand up for true freedom. And it says, we need not have fear for the future. So the messenger says, he says the above verse says to the messenger that he is to warn the people to whom no warner has come before him. Many of the writers on the history of Muhammad of nearly 1,400 years ago write that Muhammad was the first prophet that Mecca had ever seen. Even Maulana Muhammad Ali, who translated the Holy Quran in English, says in his footnote on this verse that Muhammad was the first prophet that Mecca had ever seen, and that he was raised among the descendants of Ishmael. He says, how do the scholars and writers of Islam say such, when if they make Muhammad a descendant of Ishmael, they are condemning their own sayings, that he was the first prophet of Mecca. When Abraham and Ishmael were prophets according to the Holy Quran, even the Bible and all religious people recognize Abraham as being a prophet. So that right there began to cause all of the Orthodox Muslims to hate the messenger. Because never in the history of Islam was the Arabs ever challenged about what they was talking about. They could just freely say, oh, that's talking about Prophet Muhammad. And everybody just go along with what they say. But the messenger, he didn't go along with what the messenger says. I am the Muhammad of the Holy Quran. So the messenger told us, don't be arguing with nobody on the street. You just offer it to them. They can accept it or reject it. But I have representatives that I'm teaching how to go to these colleges and universities and beat the head out of all of these scholars and scientists that had anything to say.
Yes, sir.
So the messenger goes on. He says, so therefore, Muhammad could not have been the first prophet, because the very significance of the sign that Abraham and Ishmael built in Mecca tells us much about the type of prophet and people that will be raised up in the last days. So how can they say that this revelation refers to Mecca and the Maccaeans and Muhammad? So that's the second point. The second point the messenger makes is about the Kaaba. Because when you go to Maulana Muhammad Ali's translation, first he got in the footnote that Muhammad was the first prophet that Mecca had ever seen. Then when you go to his footnote, chapter 2, verse 125, it's footnote 169. It says, it should be noted that Ishmael is very often mentioned along with Abraham in connection with the Kaaba. He says Ishmael's connection with Arabia is established by the Bible itself, for Kedar, son of Ishmael, Genesis 25:13, stands throughout the writings of the Old Testament for Arabia. Psalms 120, verse 5, Isaiah 42, verse 11, Isaiah 60, verse 7. He says the Arab tradition on this point was so strong and of such old standing that the Holy Quran every now and then refers to it as a matter of undoubted history. So now he contradicting himself. In one spot he said, Prophet Muhammad was the only prophet or the first prophet that Mecca had ever seen. Yes. That's point number one. Then he said Prophet Muhammad is a descendant of Ishmael. Point number two. Then he said that the Holy Quran mentions Abraham and Ishmael in reference to the Kaaba. So you got to misunderstand. So the messenger, being the messenger of God, this is what he told us. He told us that not only do we fit the description of the people in the Holy Quran that is due a last and greatest message, he also told us that we fit the description of the lost sheep. We fit the description of the dry bones, the prodigal son, Lazarus and the rich man. This was the message. The messenger dealt with all these points while he was among us. And this is why we have no love for the hypocrites. That's right. Because the messenger, we gonna jump just for a minute, because there's certain points that I want to prove. We're going to talk about the hypocrites for a minute. The messenger told us well about the hypocrites. Yes. Because we are not, if it's any black Hebrew Israelite who listening to this video, we're not afraid of you at all. No. We don't want you to think that just because it ain't no Muslims that done checked you yet, that we're afraid of you. We're not afraid of you at all. This is between the nation of Islam. It ain't really got nothing to do with you at all. It got to do that it's a hypocrite in Chicago. Now, what did the messenger teach us about hypocrites? Let's go to the May 21st, 1965, Muhammad speaks. This is the messenger got a whole, this ain't even a whole page. Messenger got a whole page of verses in the Holy Quran talking about hypocrites. So it says the hypocrites and disbelievers. Let's break it all the way down. Because we want these bus stop Bible babblers to understand. The messenger taught us all about what's going on today. He also told us that Master Farad Muhammad is going to get the band back together again. That's what he taught us. But he told us first we got to deal with these hypocrites. So let's go. It says the hypocrites and disbelievers. It says the following are lists of subjects on hypocrites and disbelievers with chapters and verses from the Holy Quran where they may be found. Because Bus Stop Bishop Nathaniel is a disbeliever. Yes. Farrakhan is a hypocrite. Yes. So the only reason why Bus Stop Bishop and these chicken-hearted fakes exist is because of the hypocrites. Yes, sir. And this is why the messenger told us all the time, hypocrites and disbelievers. Mm-hmm. You don't separate them. It says the hypocrites build mosques to sow dissension among Muslims and to afford shelter to the enemies of Islam. That's what hypocrites do. Hypocrites, like we talked about last week. The messengers say the hypocrites withhold their hand. They enjoin evil. They forbid good. But the hypocrites build mosques in opposition to the believers to have a shelter for the enemies of Islam. So this is what this hypocrite Louis Farrakhan is doing. Yes. He has a mosque in opposition to the believers. That's right. Everything that Bus Stop Bishop Nathaniel was talking about, it's in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper or it's in the Pittsburgh Courier. All we would have to do, if we was to have a debate with Bus Stop Bishop, all we would have to do is take those old Pittsburgh Couriers, those old Muhammad Speaks newspapers, and read verbatim what Malcolm used to say, what the messenger used to say, any other minister, to the same questions that Bus Stop Bishop is talking about. But since the hypocrites build mosques in opposition to the believers, they don't say nothing. They allow the black man to be misled about the messenger. Yes. Because the hypocrites mislead you about the messenger and they allow the disbelievers to mislead because they build their mosque for a shelter for the enemies of Islam. It's a shelter for Father Flake, enemy of Islam. Yes. It's a shelter for L. Ron Hubbard, enemy of Islam. It's a shelter for Wallace D. Muhammad, enemy to Islam. It's a shelter for Bus Stop Bishop. He's an enemy to Islam because the message. We always got to talk about the message. We want to know what would the messenger do, because we're going to get back to the subject. It's just certain points that I want to prove. What would the messenger do to Bus Stop Bishop if he was alive? We can't talk about what the messenger would do to Bus Stop Bishop without talking about Malcolm X. We can't do it. We can't do like this hypocrite Louis. The Nation of Islam had nothing on because the messenger talked about Malcolm. The messenger said in the Muhammad Speaks News, and I'm going to bring it next week. He said in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper in 1969, he said that Malcolm X's fall should serve as an example for all hypocrites who decide to scandalize, make mockery of Allah, his messenger, and his messengers. He said Malcolm X should serve. What does he mean when he say should serve? Some people, as my daddy used to say, Some people don't believe that fat meat is grease. They don't believe. Some people from Missouri, the show me state. Some people, them niggas ain't gonna do nothing. So the messenger said that Malcolm X should serve as an example for you. But if it don't, we will make an example out of you. Because anything that I say, check behind me. Don't just take nothing that I say and just on face value. Everything that I tell you comes from either the Muhammad Speaks newspaper or newspapers.com. That's pretty much the gist of every word that I teach when I talk about the messenger. The messenger talked about fighting in the cause of Allah. He's talked about the Holy Quran said, make examples out of them. The messenger used to have, I'm going to bring this next week. He would have warnings at the top of the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. It would say misuse and abuse of the messenger's picture. Lewis don't teach Islam like that. Lewis teach that kid in Islam. The messenger had pit bulls. If you think I'm lying, just go check. I want everybody who think I'm playing. Go to newspapers.com. Type in from 1964 to 1975 and put black Muslim and just read what you see. If you think that I'm lying about how the messenger took about being disrespected, and Louis Farrakhan understand, because the messenger says, I am the messenger of Allah.
That's right.
He said, I am the door. He said, if you don't accept me as the messenger and accept Master Farad Muhammad as God, he said, when Allah or when the executors come, he said, you will be pushed in the lake of fire alive with the devil. So the messenger, when he had his teachings, he did not, even when believers, because when you go read these Muhammad Speaks newspapers, the messenger wouldn't even let Muslims twist up what he said. Because most of those warnings, a lot of them, was to Muslims.
Yes.
The messenger would hear about a Muslim taking his picture. Because I'm telling you, when I used to read these papers, I did not know the nation. I used to think that Farrakhan, just like everybody, I thought he was teaching Islam. I thought that stuff he was talking about was what the messenger said. Until I started reading the Muhammad Speak. If you was to take a picture of the messenger and put it on a building that was run down, or if you took his picture and put it on a flyer, and the messenger warning, misuse and abuse, you couldn't just take the messenger's picture and just put it anywhere. A minister just couldn't decide and say, okay, I'm about to have a meeting on the east side, so I'm going to take the messenger's picture and just put it on my flyer and invite. No, you will first have to get authorization from some top laborer that you about to have this meeting. That's how it was with the man. He did not want the black man to be misled in no way by a Muslim or a lost founder. So the messenger, he also used to say, he said, look at all those who oppose me. Because the messenger wouldn't just talk against Malcolm X. Like he was some just big bad, we just crushed Malcolm X. No. He said, look at all those who oppose me. He used to say, go back to 1935 when my brother Khalil, he said, I made my brother Khalil the big boss over all. He said, I never for 1 minute would have thought that he would turn on me. The messenger said, my assistant minister turned on me. He said, the closest people to him turned on him. But what happened to them? Yes. The messenger said Master Farad Muhammad, after 7 years on the run, he said Master Farad Muhammad came to him and told him they are all dead. He didn't say we just beat them up. So no, he said they are all dead. So the messenger said when he would talk about Malcolm, he said Malcolm is just an example for all those hypocrites who decides to scandalize, make mockery of Allah, the messenger and his messages. Yes, so now, we got Bust Out Bishop making a mockery of Allah, his messenger and his messages. So we look at him and say, oh, well, ain't nothing. Yeah. The messenger also taught us. He talked about Baal. He said Baal was riding a donkey. He said Baal was beating the donkey, but the donkey stopped. He said, but Baal didn't see what the donkey saw. He said it was an angel with a sword, ready to chop Baal's head off. But the donkey saw. What's that telling you? Allah sees. Allah hears. The messenger say you ain't getting away. The messenger says Allah allows leaders of the opposition to carry out their plans that they have against Allah and the messenger. He said he told us all of this long before all this happened. He said Allah will allow you to try to carry even hypocrites. The messenger said Allah will allow. The messenger talked about. He said during the time of Prophet Muhammad, he said a lot of the hypocrites was joining the ranks of Islam to give the Muslims the impression that Islam was so successful. But he said at a certain point, when the leaders of the hypocrites gave them the word, he said all those people just left. He said that was the purpose to discourage the strong believers. He said because you see all of these people, look at all, and then they all leave. Right. That discourages the strong believers. Yes, sir. That's why the messenger taught us as ministers, teach the history of Prophet Muhammad. Because Prophet Muhammad's history is complementing the messenger's history. That's right. There was once upon a time the Muslims was big and prosperous. Now we small. Mm-hmm. Now we got to sit around and tolerate a fake to scandalize, make mockery of the messenger of Allah. It's no different than Prophet Muhammad. During the time of Prophet Muhammad, because the first martyr to Islam was a black woman. They say that this black woman and her husband was one of the first ones to accept Prophet Muhammad's teachings. So the Arabs at that time hated Prophet Muhammad. So they had this sister and her husband torturing them in the downtown square where everybody could see. They said that Prophet Muhammad could do nothing to help her. So they say Prophet Muhammad will walk past her and tell her, you gonna be blessed in the hereafter. He said just hold on to Islam. That's all he could do. So the sister, being a strong believer, even though she never saw one fruit of the success of Islam, when that king disrespected Islam, she spit in his face while she was being tortured. She spit in his face and told her, you to me is small like a little ant. So that's when the Arabs stabbed her in the heart, killed. She was the first martyr to Islam. Yes, sir. Just like us today. We ain't got nothing but our strong belief in the teachings of the messenger. But the messenger said, he said that one soldier died, or if one soldier gets shot down, he said, you step in the next soldier's place and you keep on firing until they shoot you down.
That's what he said.
That's the condition we in. We still got to tell the black man the truth. Regardless of how many is with this fake, he's still a fake.
Yes.
No matter how many Israelites with him, Allah sees. He not gonna be successful like Malcolm X wasn't successful. He gonna be destroyed like Malcolm X was destroyed.
That's right.
It don't make no difference if on social media he got 1 million views. The messenger said, check all those who oppose me. All those who oppose the message was destroyed.
Yes.
The messenger talked about hypocrites.
Yes.
It don't make no difference how many people with fire come.
That's right.
The messenger said the hypocrites are in the lowest depths of the flame.
Yes, sir.
He said that Allah chastises the hypocrites. He said the chastisement of Allah is so strong on the hypocrites that they wish that they were dead. So I said all that to say, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about the true knowledge of both books, Bible and Holy Quran. It's just as many prophecies in the Holy Quran as it is in the Bible.
Yes.
The black man is a Muslim and is a Muslim by nature. But the messenger said that the white man don't mention the name of the prophet's religion. But you see in the Bible, the Israelites rejected the prophets.
Yes.
When Jesus came and taught them Islam, them Jews hated Jesus so much that they went to Pontius Pilate. And as the messenger say, accused the righteous people, causing them to fight and kill one another.
Yes.
That's what the Jews did to Jesus.
That's right.
They accused Jesus. Jesus was an innocent, righteous Muslim.
Yes.
But Jesus, just like the messenger, he submitted. The messenger said when Master Farad Muhammad was here, he said when they would take him to go to jail, he would submit and go. The messenger said he sent for me to show me the price for teaching the truth.
Yes.
So just like Jesus, being an innocent man that was accused by the great accuser, accused by the arch deceiver, the Israelite, the Hebrew and the Jew, because Jesus was a Muslim.
Yes.
So when Pontius Pilate saw Jesus, he said, I see no fault with this man. So the Jews said, I don't care, we kill him anyway. We know he innocent. He said, his blood will be on our hands and the hands of our children. That's what the Jews said about Jesus. So why would we trust anything that a Jew has to say about Jesus? We don't trust the Bible. Because one of the things that Bustop Bishop says about the Quran, that I don't understand why or how he gets away. He says that Quran means to recite the Bible. This is what he says. If don't know Muslims say nothing, then what the lost fire gonna think? The messenger told us that the Holy Quran verifies the truth of the Bible. Why does the Holy Quran have to verify? Running out of time. Last example. When you get one of the messenger's books, the first thing you will see on the How to Eat to Live, it says, from God in person, Master Farad Muhammad. Then it says, by Elijah Muhammad. So the messenger is letting us know that the information in this book, it comes from Master Farad Muhammad. But it's by Elijah Muhammad, because Elijah Muhammad is the author. But when you go to the Bible, it says the gospel according to Matthew. So if Matthew was the author, it would say by Matthew. It wouldn't say according to. Because when you look up scholarship, if it says according to Matthew, that means that Matthew had nothing. Somebody else wrote it and said this is the gospel according to Matthew. But the Holy Quran, the messenger taught us, talks about the gospel. He said the gospel is one book. It is a revelation from Allah to Jesus. He said the gospel is not 4 books. He said so Allah came, or Allah revealed the Holy Quran to Prophet Muhammad to verify the truth in the Bible. We just can't accept the truth in the Bible. Then after Allah made the truth, or the Holy Quran, to verify the truth of the Bible, he raised for the black man a message. Just like he did for all nations of people. He raised them up a messenger from among themselves to teach and guide them. It's so much. I know I was jumping around. It's just so much I like to say against these Israelites. Because the messenger is not here to speak for himself. All that the messenger did for us, we wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for him. We wouldn't know the knowledge of ourselves if it wasn't for him. We wouldn't know that the black man is the original man if it wasn't for him. We wouldn't know how to eat to live if it wasn't for him. We wouldn't know how to do for self if it was. So why will we sit around and allow people to slander the message in his absence and we don't say nothing? So I just want to sum up why I speak about these Israelites so much. Well, brothers and sisters, we don't want to prolong the time. So I leave you as I came in the nation of Islam's greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Enjoying the show? Help keep us on the air. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033 to make a donation.
Brothers and sisters, we rise for prayer. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the beneficent, the merciful, sole master's day of judgment in which we now live. The alone do we serve, and the alone seek for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path, path of those upon whom thou bestow thy favors, not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after they heard thy teachings. Say he, Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none is ever to be served, worship, or praised besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is thy true servant and last apostle. Ameen. Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us not to do anything to anyone that we wouldn't have done it to ourselves and treat everybody right, even the devil. Assalamu alaikum.